Hi there, it's Debbie from celestialastrologyhealing.co.uk, and today I'm doing a video on the full moon in Aries on the 17th of October 2024, and this is at 12:26 British Summer Time, so that's 11:26 Universal Time, and you can adjust for your time zone wherever you are in the world. I'm doing this video a bit differently. I am hidden, and I hope that I remain hidden because I've got an eye infection and I've also injured my back. But I don't like to miss doing my videos for new and full moons. But I'm going to ask for some help here because I'm also a bit disillusioned about continuing to do my YouTube videos, as recently I've not had as many viewers, and I'm not sure if people are subscribed when you think you're subscribed. So I would really appreciate if you can check if you're subscribed to my channel, if you do want to hear more from me and you do appreciate my free astrology sharings. And also you can leave an honest comment in the comment box below to let me know what you think of my astrology offerings. I know there's many astrologers out there, and maybe it's just getting to the point where there's a saturation point. I'm relatively new at sharing these videos compared to some astrologers that have been doing it for many years. So I was hoping that I would be able to reach like 1,000 subscribers. I'm around 944. It seems to be dropping down, but I'm not sure if that's YouTube doing something with the bots and getting rid of subscribers. So if you can, just check if you are subscribed, if you do enjoy my sharings, that would be brilliant. And if you can leave a comment below, just say continue or not bothered or whatever. I know that I'm putting myself out here on a limb, and therefore I am open to receive back what's been responded by the YouTube viewers. I have been doing some shorter TikTok videos lately, lying on my back with my injury. And yeah, I quite like the fact that they're so short. But this video, I plan to, excuse me, share a few images, as I like to at the beginning of all my videos. And then you can scroll along to the rising sign of your zodiac sign, or your sun or your moon. I'm actually not going to give readings for those today, but I will leave a chart up showing the different house systems and telling you which area of life is being activated during this full moon. Because at full moon, we have the sun at 24 Libra, always in opposition to the moon, which is at 24 degrees in Aries. So let's see if I can move along to the next image. Let me see. I'll just describe this image. I chose this image because Aries is ruled by Mars, the warrior god. So this is a nice fiery image of a warrior type energy, of a strong woman. It's not just to support women, it's just to show that strength, because Mars is the ruler of Aries, which is a fire sign. It's a cardinal fire sign. So this full moon involves cardinal air of the sun in Libra, which is the time of autumn equinox, and the opposition to cardinal fire, which is the beginning of the astrological new year on spring equinox, which is usually the 21st of March every year. So yeah, this is a fiery image, and Mars is prepared to go to battle, to fight for whatever Mars believes in. So this shows that this particular warrior goddess is holding a sword, so she's prepared to fight. And sometimes Mars energy can actually martyr themselves, like go to battle, protect others, and fight on somebody else's behalf. That's another thing, martyrdom. So here's the symbol of Mars, or sorry, Aries. This is like the ram, and it shows the full moon there behind it. And this, because we've just got back from a holiday in Greece, which was lovely to warm the bones, I thought I'd use this image. This is the warrior Mars, shown in a Grecian style, which you sometimes see on the pottery, such as in Knossos Palace. But these lovely rusty ochre colors of an ancient image of Mars, the god of war. He's got his helmet on, he's got his battle armor on. And again, he represents the masculine assertive principle in us. So at the time of the fiery full moon in Aries, which I've been told from listening to other astrologers is a supermoon, which means it's closer to the earth, which means therefore the pull on the currents and also our emotions, as we're made mostly of water, may be heightened at this time. So there's been many supermoons, and of course around the environments around the world, we've seen some of the catastrophic floodings, and we send out love and help to these people that are suffering at this time. But yeah, Mars showing the masculine principle here. So what else? I think I need to go back to the chart of the moment. Yeah, here we go. So this is a chart of the heavens at this full moon. So I'll just get my annotate tool here for those that are interested in astrology and what happens. As I was saying, the sun and the moon are always in opposition at this full moon. So we've got the sun in Libra at this time of year, 24 degrees Libra, 35 minutes. There's 30 degrees in each sign. So we're edging towards the end of Libra season. And the moon is at 24 degrees Aries, 35 minutes, always in opposition at full moon. So basically, the light of the sun is being reflected by the luminary, the moon. The moon can represent our inner landscape, our emotional feelings and sensitivity, need for security. And usually we only get one full moon in each sign of the zodiac each year. Sometimes we get an extra full moon in the lunar month, and that's called the blue moon. But when we go through the Aries full moon ruled by Mars, there is the potential, which we should all be aware of and take responsibility for our emotions to be fired up and quite impulsive, because Aries is the sign of the ram who rushes into things without thinking. Thinking comes later. So sometimes there's an impatience, an angry outburst, a volatility, as Mars, the ruler of Aries, can rear his sort of powerful feelings and assertions and anger at this time, which can be the shadow side of Aries. The positive side of Aries is being able to use our own initiative and our own sense of independence, believing in ourselves. And certainly at this time, it's pretty important to do that, because we've got Chiron, the wounded healer. This is the one that looks a bit like a key here at 21 degrees Aries, 5 minutes retrograde. So Chiron is actually part of the Centurion belt. It's an ice body centaur. And he represents the wounds that we carry, and we all have them. And it depends on where Chiron is in our own birth chart. And Chiron represents something that needs to be healed. So when Chiron is in Aries, it is really about our own self-worth and our self-belief. We have to believe in ourselves, because this moon is conjunct Chiron within a 3.5 degree orb. I tend to use about a 3 degree orb when I'm looking at the aspects between planets, and that is the angles between planets. And also we've got the north node of the moon here in Aries, which is at 5 degrees Aries, 29 minutes retrograde. The nodes of the moon always go retrograde against the grain of most planets that tend to go, direct, unless they are also going retrograde. And we have got quite a lot of outer planets going retrograde at the moment. We've got Neptune, 27 degrees retrograde. We've got Saturn, 13 degrees retrograde. We've got Jupiter, 21 degrees retrograde, and we've got Uranus, 26 degrees retrograde. The only outer planet moving direct is actually Pluto, and he's quite a main player in this full moon, which I'll go into shortly. So the north node of the moon in Aries, in ancient astrology and in Indian astrology, which may be Vedic, I don't know, I don't study that, represents the severed head of the dragon, the head of the dragon or the serpent, and it's separated from the body, which is the south node, which is always opposite. So the south node's up here at 5 degrees Libra retrograde. So the severed head of the dragon is insatiable to achieve and absorb and attain and be successful. You know, it's an aspirational type energy. So around this full moon, we have the Chiron around the wounds that we carry and our emotions, but we've also got Rahu, the north node of the moon, which in modern astrology, people may interpret as what we are aiming towards in the respect of, if you believe in past lives, the south node of the moon can be what we've already lived through, and the north node of the moon can be what we're learning in this lifetime, aspiring towards. So that's what's going on there. And the south node of the moon in Libra would represent a sense of release and letting go, relinquishing control, more interest in spiritual, Ketu, the severed body of the dragon or the serpent here. So that's the nodes of the moon. And as I was saying, in modern astrology, the south node of the moon can represent past lives and what we've already mastered. So don't look at which sign this is in as far as the house system, because this is just for Sagittarian ascendant at the time of this exact full moon in Aries. What else have I got here to talk about? There is a T-square from Mars. So here's Mars, and Mars in Cancer at 22 degrees 55 minutes is in what's called in fall. When planets are in the houses or the temples that they rule, they're known to be in domicile or in their rulership. And then we have exaltation when planets work really well, when they're in certain signs, and Mars is exalted in the opposite sign of Capricorn. So therefore, when Mars is in Cancer, Mars is known to be in fall. So what that means is that Martian energy of assertion and doing and action is tempered by the fact that the moon rules Cancer. So the energy that we have around this time can fluctuate like the cycles of the lunar cycles, coming from, a dark new moon building light, first quarter, half moon, second quarter, gibbous moon building up to full moon, and then waning, the disseminating moon, the waning moon that goes back to the dark over the lunar cycle. So Mars in Cancer is, our energy levels can change, and also Mars's energy of assertion can be expressed through emotional reactions, which can be changeable. And the moon on Cancer represents feelings around safety, home, and family. So just to be aware that this T-square with Mars is in a square aspect to the sun and the moon, because the moon's at 24 degrees, so Mars is about to move into an exact aspect in a couple of days, and Mars is also in a square aspect, which is the nature of Mars. It's to do with overcoming blockages. If you think about a square, it's got these rigid corners of 90 degrees, and that's this T-square, 90 degrees to the sun and to the moon, and that opposition there. So there's things to overcome, but it can be quite a dynamic transit, giving us instigation to work towards things and overcome things. So bearing in mind that the sun in Libra is about harmony, because Venus is the ruler of Libra. It's about balance and harmony and justice and fairness and, balance in the yin and the yang, because Libra is a sign of the scales, and she's ruled by Venus, the goddess of love, beauty, union, peace, calm. So some astrologers that I've heard talk about Venus being peace and Mars being war. So there's this potential here and the necessity to take responsibility individually for ourselves and our reactions, which can ripple out into the mainstream. And we know that there's so many dynamics of opposition and separation and conflict going on, but we can take responsibility for ourselves at this time with this full moon in Aries. Nobody else is responsible for how we choose to react. Things may happen, but you know, it really does come back to ourselves and our own responsibility about how we choose to respond to things. And if everybody took responsibility and took a breath before reacting, the world would be a much more pleasant and harmonious place. That's my Sagittarian philosophy thrown in there for what it's worth. Another thing, this full moon in Aries maybe bringing topics to fruition that began around the new moon in Aries on the 8th of April this year, 2024, when the sun and the moon were at 19 degrees Aries, also conjunct Chiron, because Chiron moves very slowly. So topics around our own self-worth, our own abilities, depending on where this Aries house is in your personal chart, are also being revisited at this time. And in the future, there will be a grand cardinal cross. So I'll just start drawing my lines in again. I don't really consider it at this time being happening, but it is building. And that would be, you can see Mars at 22 degrees Cancer, and Pluto is at 29 degrees. So I personally use about a 3-degree orb. So from my notes, from the 26th of October, which is how many days after new moon? It's about 9 days after this full moon, sorry, not new moon, full moon in Aries. The 26th of October, that's when there's a 3-degree applying orb of Mars. So that would be when Mars is at around 26 degrees, which will be in an exact opposition to Pluto on the 3rd of November. So these are quite volatile, potential volatile energies building, because Pluto is the god of the underworld. He is Hades, who archetypally took Persephone into his kingdom to, you know, he fell in love with her, saw her, you know, skipping through the fields, a virgin maiden with her long flowing dark hair and white gown, as she's the only daughter of Demeter, the earth goddess. And he took her, abducted her, raped her basically, but fell in love with her and wanted to keep her in his kingdom, where he introduced her to the secrets and taboos of the hidden world, the dark hidden things such as sex and power. So Pluto therefore represents a sense of control and power, but also treasures and wealth that may be discovered from the darker realms. And Pluto can also represent what's suppressed and hidden and secretive. So when we have this opposition from Mars in Cancer, who is quite volatile and emotional, opposite Pluto, there can be this tug of war energy between Mars and Pluto, because they both want to have power. Mars is quicker moving. Pluto is just stationed direct at the last anaretic degree of Capricorn. And this is a stressful position for any planet. So if you have any planets in your own personal birth chart at 29 degrees, this is called the critical degree. And there's a stressful sort of energy about this planet placement and what that signifies in your own personal birth chart. But for everybody, Pluto at the anaretic degree in Capricorn is giving us this opportunity to tie up these ends in this Capricornian house, wherever that sits in your own personal birth chart. And it's about old structures breaking down, you know, power down, authority, Capricorn, money, banking, royalty, politicians, power, you know, austerity. It's just old traditional ways. And when Pluto moves back into Aquarius, 19th, 20th of November, where he's already dipped his toe a couple of times, giving us that sort of sense of what's to come over the next 19 years. That's when the energies will be shifting for everybody. Community connections, AI, shared ideas, different senses of technology and medical things, but also that sense of community supporting others with shared ideas and a more humanitarian, compassionate way of being. So I think I've gone off piste a little bit, but yeah, there is this cardinal cross which is building. And if you count 3 degrees after the separating opposition. That would be an out of sign opposition up until the 14th of November. So that is building. But again, we need to take responsibility of these reactions that we may have within us to explode. You know, it's a very, very volatile, powerful energy, cardinal energy, Capricorn and Cancer there, cardinal earth and cardinal water. So just being aware of that can also be helpful for us. Take a breath before responding, feel grounded, get grounded, you know, do things that are healthy for us to come into balance so that we can be less reactionary, I would say. And also just pointing out this Venus at 29 degrees Scorpio. Venus in Scorpio, anaretic degree again. She is in what's called detriment or exile, because Venus rules the opposite sign of Taurus. So, you know, when Venus is in Scorpio, there can be, you know, different energies around how Venus looks at things, because Mars rules Scorpio. So Venus sometimes is a little bit armored up in her battle armor to cope, but there can be passions and intensity, because Scorpio is a fixed water sign. So there can be very deep feelings and intuition around this time. And this is a sextile aspect, which is the nature of Venus going to Pluto here. So this is a harmonious aspect, which can be helpful. So perhaps there's something around how we interact with others in our close one-to-one relationships, or what's really valuable to us, because Venus is about what we value in our life. Scorpio is one of these signs of the zodiac, like Cancer, with a hard shell, with the Scorpio sting raised, you know, wanting to protect and be aware for threat. But, you know, using the harmony of Venus, sensitivity, emotional depths, going to Pluto in Capricorn, it can be quite a healing, cathartic time to bring up and release things that have been suppressed in a way of positivity for the future. So now what I'm going to do, hopefully, is bring along the chart of the house systems, if I've got it minimized. I really hope I do. And then talk about what house systems, what area of life might be getting triggered for you, depending on your sign of the zodiac. And you can listen in for your rising sign if you know your time of birth, or your sun sign, or your moon sign, or all of them, and see which one resonates best for you. At the moment, I'm finding it hard to go back and forward. So this sometimes happens, and then I end up pausing the screen and thinking I'm showing. So I have done some really naff videos in the past, but let me see if I pause now. I'm really scared that I'm going to end up not doing the proper thing. Let me get rid of that annotate. Oh, here we go. Here we go. So as I'm saying, I won't be giving interpretations. I've just given themes of the planetary weather. If you like what I've been sharing astrologically, I really would appreciate you to like or leave a comment below. It's very easy just to be, I'm sometimes, I'm like this myself. I listen to some videos, but you know, what effort does it take to press the like button, or to share it, or to leave a comment below to support the person that's offering these things? So for Aries, so I welcome you to do that if you can, and subscribe if you like my offerings. For Aries, this full moon in Aries is obviously in your first house. So you can see that it's the helm of the ship. It's all about you, the first house here. Go back to that. It's all about you. This is where the full moon is going to be happening, and it's across the house of self and partnerships, the 7th house. So everything that I've just talked about before going into this, you can think about where the Capricorn house is for you as well. But it's basically bringing topics to fruition that started around the 8th of April. And there will be at the very last lunar eclipse in Aries on the 29th of March. 2025, we have had the first new moon Pisces eclipses, which were giving us a flavor of what's to come. And the nodes of the moon are still going to be in Aries and Libra until the 29th of January 2025, when the north node will then shift into Pisces and the south node will shift into Virgo. So that's for you, Aries. That's the first house. So this full moon for Taurus is happening in the 12th house. So the 12th house up here, you can see the topics. It's about the hidden place, retreat, your subconsciousness, things that are behind the scenes, or your dream states, or your inner world and your inner wealth. So that's where this is happening for you, Taurus. For Gemini, it's the 11th house, the house of good spirit, Jupiter's joy. This full moon in Aries is bringing topics to fruition here for you in the house of your networks and your long-term wishes. For Cancer, it's a very dynamic area of life. It's the 10th house of praxis and action and your public world and possibly your occupation if you're working, or your vocations. Something's coming to a head here that maybe had started around the 8th of April for you to, full visibility of these topics coming to a head to do with your public reputation. Leo, this is happening in your 9th house of God. It's about your belief systems. Again, topics that have happened and started around the 8th of April. The new moon in Aries are coming to fruition here. And actually, if you've got anything going on with legal battles, this is the house of lawyers and courts and decision making. So something might be coming to a head here, Leo. Virgo, this is happening in your 8th house, the house which is related to shared resources or the views of others. In ancient astrology, it was called the idle place. It can be to do with, money and debts and inheritances and anxieties and fears. So some topics coming to fruition here that may have started around the new moon on the 8th of April this year. Libra, obviously, this is the opposite house from Aries. So this full moon in Aries is happening in your 7th house of your personal relationships. So this may be to do with your partner. It's the whole of the chart isn't always about you, or it may be to do with, topics around your personal relationships, be it romantic if you're in a relationship, or business partnerships, something coming to a head here. Scorpio, this full moon in Aries is happening in your 6th house, which might relate to work and service. So, topics around what you do in your everyday routines, your rituals, routines, and to do with your health. There may be some topics coming to clarity and full visualization at the time of this full moon. Maybe things that had started around the new moon in Aries on the 8th of April this year. Sagittarius, this is happening, this full moon in Aries in your 5th house. And as you can see, this is the house of Venus's joy. There's Venus there. It's good fortune, it's pleasures and creativity. What's coming to fruition for you in this area? It could be related to children, maybe related to how you look at your own pleasures in life, or it could be about some entrepreneurial topics coming to fruition here. Things that may have started around the 8th of April when there was a new moon in Aries. And it is about, healing the wounds with Chiron there in Aries and the north node of the moon, believing in yourself. And that goes for everybody. Capricorn, this is a dynamic area of life, the 4th house of home and family. There's something coming to a completion point, perhaps, or high visibility, things that may have started around the new moon on the 8th of April to do with this home and land and property, your roots and your ancestry coming to a point of completion here or full visibility. Aquarius, this is happening. This full moon in Aries is happening in your 3rd house, which is to do with your local neighborhood and your communications. It's the house of the goddess, distant relatives, interactions, your online presence, perhaps if you use any forums, you know, where you promote yourself and communicate your ideas. So that's where this full moon is coming to fruition. That may have started around the 8th of April when there was a new moon in Aries. And for Pisces, this full moon in Aries is happening in your second house of your own resources, your own finances, and your own sense of security, and how you can use your own skills. So topics that may have started around the 8th of April when there was a new moon in Aries may be coming to fruition at this point. So thanks everybody who's listened. Thank you for listening to me doing an audio remaining hidden. Contact me if you're interested in a personal reading. I've recently put some different pricing scales on my website, offering a wider variety of types of readings that represent the different amounts of time that I invest into offering personal readings, which is my absolute passion. So thank you so much for listening, and yeah, just wishing everybody the best. Full moon in Aries. If you can see the moon, I can't see any sun, let alone the moon at the moment, with the drizzly, dreich weather here in Scotland, but at least it was mild earlier. Quite a contrast from being in Crete and warming up the bones and muscles. I feel like my muscles have completely contracted, and, you know, it's a hard climate to live in, but it makes us hardy and appreciate the changing of the seasons. So best wishes to everybody for this full moon in Aries. Blessings.